Hey there, it's Coach Adrian, and I'm super excited to share some information with you. So, I want to tell you about the number one leadership characteristics that companies are looking for in their employees. And it's above like communication, it's above global thinking, it's above characteristics like humility and integrity. This characteristic is one that can radically change an organization, and it can also radically change your life. This characteristic has the benefit of improving teamwork and team bonding. It has the benefit of increasing productivity. It has the benefit of creating engaging employees and raising morale and having fun at work and happiness. This leadership characteristic is very powerful. And it's about how we use our left brain and our right brain together, our whole brain, so that we can use it when we're stuck in a rut, when we feel like we're going in circles, when we're looking for new opportunities to approach an old idea. So this leadership characteristic is about creativity. Boy, did we have a fun time. Let me see if I can get my little information here. I'm digging over. Okay, we used what we call the spaghetti exercise: tape, marshmallows, and spaghetti strands to build a tower. We put teams together, and they used their creative instincts to see who could build the biggest tower. Now, let me tell you why it's important for teams and organizations to train their teams on creativity, because the statistics are, I guess, rather astounding. If you think about it, and based on the research, it shares that when they looked at children ages 3 to 5, 80% of them scored in the creative genius realm. When they tested them again 5 years later, so these kids are like 8 to 10 now, only 32% tested in the creative tested as a creative genius. And then when they tested them, as teenagers, so we're talking about by this time it's like 13 to 15 years old, only 10% ranked as creative genius. So what happened? Well, my own opinion is that once we start getting into school, we have to start assimilating. Everybody has to think the same. We have to follow a process. We've got standardized tests. I don't know too many schools that now still have creative writing. I remember that was one of my most fun classes in schools, right? So we have programmed ourselves to follow the norms. That's why hacks are so very people love hacks. Like I saw a hack the other day about putting water into a pail if your sink is too small. You know how you can't get the bucket in there, and so you can't get the water in. So they had this hack where you just, use a dustpan. I was like, genius. But we're so used to buying things and having things already prepared for us that we don't think creatively anymore. So in order to start thinking more creatively, we've got to use our whole brain, because our left brain, or I should say the left mind, the left hemisphere, that controls the left side of the body, and that's more about logic and numbers. But the right side of the brain is more about activity and illusion and more creative thinking. Okay, so let me just say this. It's so important that you start being creative. And an example that I'll share with you came from a story that I read about an assistant manager at a Sacramento Starbucks back in the 1990s. And what happened was he noticed that in the colder days, that business was down. And so he brought in a blender, which was against company rules, and he started, fidgeting around with the ingredients and came up with a cold beverage. And then when his district manager came around a couple months later, he offered him a drink. Guess what? That became Frappuccino, and Frappuccino is now 20% of Starbucks global sales. I have my own story of creativity. Back in the 90s, I was working in a call center, And I noticed that we're using all of these, really thick. And when I say thick, I can't even get my fingers wide enough. Is how thick the texts were that we would have to read from when people would call in. So I was working for a pharmaceutical company. So if someone called in and they asked about a particular product, I literally had to sift through binders to find the answers. Like, what's the active ingredient? What are the side effects? And so when I joined the team, I was like, we got to find a better way to do this. And so I made the recommendation. Again, this is back in the 1990s. This was pre Facebook. This was pre social media. This was pre everything. Okay, no internet. All we could do was scan the PDF in and then search on the word. That idea spurred other creativity and innovation within my department. It wasn't some big old grand idea. I just was like, why aren't we scanning? So I say all that to say, be creative. It will change your life, but it can also create opportunities for you to have greater success. So I'm super psyched about the training that I just did with the team. They were excited and we had a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to going back and learning how they have been more creative in their work. So more creative power to you. Have a great day.